What's up with it? It's your boy Expat D, and all right, we need to talk. Okay, this message is for Black travelers, Black expats, Black YouTubers. I love y'all, but there's some things we got to stop doing when we go abroad. Okay, from lying about prices to pretending you can move overseas for only like $300 to ignoring fellow Black travelers like we strangers. It's time for some real talk. Okay, so for today, I'm breaking down the 10 things Black travelers need to stop doing if we want to thrive abroad. Anyway, I'm Expat D. Guys, we reaching 2,000 subscribers. Okay, that's a big deal for me. This channel was growing. The more it grows, the more things I'm going to be able to do abroad, and we can learn together. Okay, learn and grow together, guys. Okay, but let's get to it. Okay, number one on my list, Black travelers, y'all got to stop lying about prices. Okay, don't downplay or exaggerate. Just be real about how much stuff costs abroad. Okay, I know we all excited about moving abroad or traveling abroad. I know it is cheaper than our home country, but sometimes y'all be doing too much. Y'all be doing too much. You know what I mean? I was about to throw my freaking camera the other day. I saw this lady on, I think it was in the YouTuber TikTok. She was trying to tell people how she can move abroad, or she moved abroad with $300. And it's like, why? Why even put that in somebody's head? You know what I mean? Because I don't know how many YouTubers, not YouTubers, but Black travelers that I've seen end up being homeless, and they try and do a GoFundMe and they want help, somebody to help fly them a ticket back. And it's like, you was never really in a position to go abroad anyway. You know what I mean? And I know like I've been in situations where I've been through a lot of different phases traveling abroad. Okay, and really, I started going abroad. What really set it off for me was going to Ghana. I went there during study abroad, and I was so ready to go back. After I left out, I mean, like from the moment I got on the plane, I'm thinking, all right, so how are we gonna get back here? How are we gonna get back? Right? That was number one thing on my mind. So I understand about being excited, but it's just crazy. Some of these numbers that people are trying to convince other people that they can go abroad with. And that's not cool. You know, at the end of the day, what we really should be doing is trying to get people in a situation where they can live abroad comfortably. And I'm sure we're trying to go there to create a better life for ourselves, because no matter where you live, it's no fun doing that when you're struggling. Struggling abroad is not cool. It is not cool. You want to live a better life when you're abroad. That's the whole reason for going. It's not to go over there and struggle and end up panhandling and begging and doing all that stuff. That ain't cool. Okay, so our responsibility, we need to stop lying about prices. I know with some places that's cheap. I even did videos myself of some $100 apartments. They was really around $100. I wasn't downplaying or clickbaiting the price. They was really around $100. That was real. But I'm not telling people to move here with $200 or $300. That's not real. Okay, but y'all need to stop doing that. Okay, number two. Okay, here's the thing. Stop starting businesses abroad that you don't have no experience back home doing. Okay, it's one thing to have the entrepreneurial spirit. I understand that. We all trying to make money. We're all trying to, put ourselves in a better situation. But when you start these businesses, because I know y'all seen a lot of these land scammers popping up in like Tanzania and these different spots. And really what people are doing is they're trying to position themselves as middlemen, and they're working with people that they doing stuff that they don't have no control over. Okay, you can come here and be like, yeah, I can hook you up with this and get you this. And then you basically just a middleman for somebody else, and that other person, they could just be pocketing the money. And then you stuck in the middle looking like Boo Boo the Fool. Okay? But the thing is, if you really have this experience abroad, you have this experience from America. It's the one thing that America, I'll give us credit for. They have a good education. Okay, you can get a good education in America. If you have a certain business background, I'll give you my personal experience. Okay, I started a TV show in Africa. Okay, I got it on TV. Okay, I was on TV in Liberia. I was in TV in Liberia and Nigeria. And there's some other markets I was going to get into, but the problem was the system was very wild, wild west. I mean, like typically when you have just to give you some background, when you have, a TV show or doing some TV stuff in America, you typically would try to sell it to the network. Okay. What intrigued me about Africa is you have your TV show, is yours, and you pay to have it on a TV slot, and then you try to sell that. Your job is to sell it to sponsors. So I was like, wow, that was intriguing because it's your property. So if you're able to sell it to sponsors, you can make a lot of money off of a show. That's where the money is made, selling it through the sponsors and all that stuff. So the thing is, if somebody had that background and that system, it can do really well. I didn't like it because they didn't have you start working with these TV stations there, they didn't have no data. You had very little information. You didn't have no demographics, you didn't have no data. There's no way to do research. There's no way to really tell if anyone's watching your show or not. You just have somebody on the other end saying, yes, yes, good, 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 right? Pay for more slots. That's how you do better. Pay for more slots. And it was, but the thing about it is, if somebody had more of a background of that in the States, they would kind of know how to analyze things a little bit better, that they need more of the business side. Even these TV networks and stuff like that, there was a lot of systems that you have in place in the States that were lacking when I was doing this in Africa. I was like, I kind of stopped taking that route because I was like, wait a minute, I'm not seeing like, okay, if they wanted me to sell my TV show to sponsors, how do I find the sponsors? There's no like liaison person to the sponsors. It's just kind of like you go door to door, who you know and all. It was just a mess. So the one thing I can say is that's how a lot of things are in Africa when you do business. But if you have that experience in the state and you can put those systems in place, you can be pretty successful. The best way to go about it is to have that business in the States. Like I'll give you an example. There's a lot of businesses that are franchises that you could run, get experience. They're cheap, relatively cheap cheap to get into. You could learn that business, understand the systems, and then come up with your own version when you go abroad. That's a way you can do it. But you actually can come here knowing that you have the business experience, knowing that you have the systems in place, and you'll be more successful than coming up here and just trying to basically tell people, yeah, we just come up with the business, right? You feel me? And like people start paying, right? Then you're going to be straight. And that's the type of language you'll hear. You just, as soon as you open, because they ain't got that there. They ain't got that there. They ain't got it. So if you come in there and you got it, just trust me. Trust me. They ain't even got them there. So if you open up, you're going to be balling. Right? And that's the type of math that's being done. That's the type of language. That's the type of business math that's being done. It ain't there, so you do it and then you straight. Then they out of business panhandling. That's how that works. Okay. But anyway, get some experience, right? If there's you see the part of going to another country. One thing that I've learned from traveling abroad and then going back to America, then going back abroad, I start to understand what we don't do well in America because I blatantly can see systems that do it differently. And then on the other hand, so like going back to that, okay? Sometimes you can go abroad and then you come back to America and be like, hey, wait a minute, why the hell are we paying for this? You know what I mean? When you start seeing countries that they don't have to pay for it, they don't care, it doesn't change anything. So you come back, you're like, wait, why I got to pay all this money for this stuff? That's the biggest problem when you return back to the States, when you live abroad. You start seeing things that you blatantly have to pay for. You're like, wait a minute. So I don't have the option. I'm forced to pay for this, basically. It's almost like, okay, I'm forced to pay for car insurance. And if I don't, then my license will get suspended. But what happens if I pay for car insurance for 10 years, right? And I've paid $20,000 or $30,000 into car insurance, and I've never gotten to an accident. I basically just gave away $20,000 or $30,000. I almost feel like there should be a law in America to where if you show that you have a certain amount of money in your bank account that you can cover if there's an accident, blah, 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 you shouldn't need car insurance. Because what happens if you don't use it? What do you get? What do you get? What do you get? Right? So anyway, on the other hand, that's what I was gonna say. You also notice certain things, what is very valuable in the States. What I notice from leaving and coming back, I noticed that American citizenship has its advantages. That passport, at least it does for now, is starting to lose value. Not just that, having American degree. That's why they got all these international schools all over the world, because they're trying to align their curriculum so that they can go to our U.S. colleges. Okay, so having that American degree is very valuable. To me, it's more valuable outside of the country. It is for me, right? Having American credit. Okay, so there's a couple of things that is valuable. I understand why from America, but you see it when you leave, and you see, well, what's the difference between us and them? We can start businesses with credit. A lot of other places you got to bootstrap it and use your own money. Okay, so having credit, having business credit, having American degree, all these things worth having in the States, but you'll never understand that unless you leave. Okay, let me continue. Okay. Like I said earlier, stop saying you can move abroad with like $300,000. Let's be honest. Okay, moving takes planning and resources. So stop selling dreams that aren't realistic. I hate seeing that, personally. When people try to say, oh, you can live here for this small amount of money and da 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 da. And there's people that really believe that. And you just want people to really be ready when it's time to go abroad. The worst thing in the world is to set a plan to go abroad and then you're back within months. And you didn't want it. You know that you wanted to stay longer. And a lot of that is how you position yourself. See, here's the thing. Being broke is not fun. anywhere. Okay? Say it with me. I'm going to say it again. Being broke is not fun anywhere. And that's the thing. A lot of when people talk about how much they like a country and how much this and how much that, it's because you was vacationing, and who vacations broke? You vacation for like a week or 5 days or 2 weeks, and you save up all this money or whatever. You're staying in nice hotels, you're eating in nice restaurants, you're living a little dream. So of course you're enjoying yourself. You're not going there broke and struggling, because who would like that? Anywhere you stay, when you're broke and struggling, people are gonna be looking at you sideways and treating you differently and rolling your eyes. You're gonna get a similar treatment at like you being broke in the States. So if we sit here and we set these wrong standards for people that's looking at these countries and they're excited about going, right? We're setting them up for failure. All right, my next point is this point get on my nerves, straight up. Stop ignoring fellow Black travelers. I'm gonna say this again. Stop ignoring fellow Black travelers. If you see one another, and I'll tell you what, I've been traveling, like I said, early 2000s, back before this was a thing. If we saw a fellow Black traveler, we'd say hello, right? Just say hi. We're not your enemy. We're not your competition. Most of us, we travel for the same reason. And I don't know why. So many the Black travelers I be seeing, man, they be so stuck up. I'm like, what is y'all so stuck up for? Stuck up, tripping. Speak, say hello. It ain't nothing wrong to say hello, hi. I don't know why they act like, that's that. I gotta peep y'all on some game. That's not our culture. That is not our culture to be walking past people like we don't know you and all that stuff. That's not our culture. That is not our culture. You know what I mean? Please. Y'all need to miss me with that stuff. But speak. When you see a fellow Black traveler, speak. Say hello. Hi. Give the nod. That's a universal thing. Do that. Number 5, stop posting only the highlight reel, okay, of your trip. I know you living your best life and ooh and all that stuff. You're excited. You're on vacation. You sipping on the good stuff. But you could also show the ups and downs. Okay, struggles abroad. They're real. Okay, it's not just beaches and cocktails and all that stuff. You could show both. You don't have to just show the highlight reel. I know we enjoying ourselves abroad. We having fun. You want everybody to wish they was you and all that stuff, but stop just posting the highlight reels. Let's continue. Continue why? Another one, stop looking down on locals. Okay, you're a guest. Respect the culture. Humble yourself. And let me tell you this. This ain't America. Stop with that damn attitude. I was in the grocery store the other day. Oh, I was so embarrassed, just by association. And I vaguely I was like, wait a minute, I know this tone. It was some Black lady, right? I'm in the Middle East, right? I mean, we have Black people, there's Black people, but this is very distinct. Like, let me speak to your manager. Let me speak to your manager. And this lady it was, I don't know what it was. It was like, she was literally, this was like an argument over like $1. I don't know what it was. I forget what it was, but it was so trivial. And you know how you do in the States, where it's like you trying to save $1 or get like somebody put hair in your food or something or whatever, and you try to get a free drink or I don't know what the hell. But they came with that attitude, and it's like, dude, this is another country. Y'all leave that stuff. Let me speak to your manager. You did this, and try to, embarrass the person and all that. I was so embarrassed. I tried. I don't know, man. I was trying to act like I wasn't Black for a second. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to like, hello, hello, like I'm something else, right? I was so embarrassed. I was like, yo, you on your own with this. But stop with all that, right? On to the next one. Number 7, stop acting like you escaped everything. Okay? Moving abroad doesn't magically erase your problems. Be honest about what you left behind and what you're facing now. Okay? So many people leave, when you move abroad, you do avoid certain things, but a lot of times problems that you have, they're more internal. You don't run away from who you are. You know what I mean? So like, I'll put it to you like this. I know you guys watch shows like 90 Day Fiance, right? I'll just say this. You be saying these dudes, they straight geeks, losers, right? And they have this like supermodel looking female, right? And they really, but they really don't have no experience with women and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, they might be able to, for whatever reason, they may be able to get somebody like that. But it's only a matter of time before she get that loser energy. You know what I'm saying? She peep game that you don't know what you're doing, or you know what I'm saying? You not confident, or da 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 da, right? So then she gonna start disrespecting you or cheating on you, or like whatever, treating you a certain type of way because you ain't got no game. So that's the thing. So just because you left and changed environments doesn't negate the fact that you don't know how to handle yourself in certain situations. And that's not just about dating or whatever, but you still have to grow. A lot of us, we still have to grow as a person. And it's not just the answer to everything. It's not changing environments. It can help, right? It can help, but you still have to evolve and grow as a person. Don't forget that step. Just because you move don't mean that you ain't got to work on yourself and grow. All right, number 8, stop flexing for social media. All right. Not every Airbnb, dinner, or trip needs to be about showing off. You got authenticity connects more than just stunning. Everything ain't got to be a stunt. You know what I mean? Something we gotta regulate. And then I'll go to number 9, straight to number 9. Stop expecting America everywhere. Okay? Stop expecting America everywhere. Other countries, they don't run on US standards. Okay, and that's the point. Embrace the differences instead of complaining. It's nice. I mean, yeah, of course, we naturally compare things to our previous environment, but let the new country be the new country. They don't need to be America Part 2. Okay, and then we got number 10. Stop discouraging others from traveling. Hey, just because your experience was hard doesn't mean others shouldn't try. Okay, share wisdom, not fear. And let me tell you something about traveling. Sometimes when you travel, you can take the same trip and have 2 different experiences. Okay, sometimes it's just like, I'll give you an example. I went to like Tanzania, right? And I wasn't feeling it. Okay, and part of it has to do with when we first went there. I rented an Airbnb. I had to travel like almost an hour from the airport. Got to the Airbnb. It was all messed up. It wasn't in renting condition. The floor was all messed up. It had sawdust everywhere. And I was supposed to get the whole unit. The dude was trying to tell me I only get one room and I got to share it with his brother. And it was just a mess. And then I had to can't basically cancel it. Didn't have nowhere to stay. Had to like go place to place trying to find a new place to stay. I ended up having to pay triple the amount of what I initially paid for my Airbnb. And it just the whole trip, it just left a sour taste in my mouth. So that was one trip. I'm sure I have enough travel experience to know if I would have gone again, it could have been the best trip of my life. But if I go off talking about I hate Tanzania, I hate, over there, blah blah blah, I may be, I may make someone else not want to go, and that might not be their experience. Hell, that might not be my experience if I travel again. Yeah, so that's my 10 things though. 10 things we got to stop doing. I'm excited that we are traveling. I know I can see from firsthand, I see a lot more Black travelers than I used to see 10 years ago. So that's cool that you guys are getting out there. But hey, man, I feel like we have a responsibility. You know what I mean? Because um, we Black people look to places like YouTube and TikTok and all these little places because we want to see someone that looks like us tell our experience to see how we'll like it. You may look at me and relate to me and say, well, dang, like this dude, he seemed like somebody I would kick it with, or he reminded me of my cousin or my uncle or my baby daddy or whatever. And you want to see it through my eyes because you can relate to me. You know what I mean? But if we be sharing these bad images and stuff like that, it just set everybody back. Okay. But anyway, I'm Expat D. Thanks a lot for spending time with me. If you made it to the end of the video, like, share, subscribe. Let's get the channel to grow. We almost at 2,000 subs, man. 2,000, right? And we're gonna get bigger and bigger. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Peace and I'm out.